Hey, everybody. I wanted to start my new Moonlight at Night streams, and they can happen anytime. They cover a variety of topics. And today, what I'm going to cover is a recent story that came out on Channel 12 News locally here in Arizona. It's regarding the claims of discrimination, safety issues, and a lawsuit against the Taiwanese semiconductor manufacturing company. They are building an extremely large manufacturing facility, actually nearby, in Phoenix, Arizona. And this lawsuit came out just this afternoon that I got the report. So I'm going to give you a little bit of background about the company if you haven't heard of them. Acronym TSMC. They are a global company out of Taiwan. It is the world's largest dedicated independent semiconductor foundry. TSMC, not TMG, don't want to mix those up. Chips are for other companies. So they just create the chips based on contracts, meaning it doesn't design its own chips, but it rather produces them based on designs provided by their clients or customer clients. What they'll do is what they specialize is in wafer fabrication, which is the process of creating semiconductor chips. They are a dominant force in the semiconductor industry, producing a large percentage of the world's most advanced chips. Most of their customers are major tech companies like Apple and Nvidia do rely on TSMC for their chip manufacturing. They are particularly in Taiwan, but their global supply chain make it a focal point of geopolitical interest. They are invested in heavily expanding their manufacturing capacity, including significant investments in the United States. Hence why they're building here in the last couple of years in Phoenix, Arizona. What's the downfall of this is that discrimination and safety issues are in play. So the article that is on Channel 12's website is titled Drugs, Injuries, and Safety Gear from Temu. Class action lawsuit claims safety violations of TSMC. So there is a class action lawsuit accusing them of racial discrimination and unsafe conditions at the Phoenix plant, specifically the Phoenix plant. So to continue, this was published yesterday by the author of William Pitts. The lawsuit itself states a lawsuit against TSMC, the Taiwanese microchip manufacturer building a massive plant in northern Phoenix, is now a class action lawsuit. It was refiled this week with 17 plaintiffs and more than 160 pages of allegations. So I'm going to start to get my hands on that and then report what I get, okay? Do my best, I should say, to get my hands on that information. The suit accuses TSMC of racial discrimination, retaliation, and unsafe working conditions. It started with one woman who worked in a human resources for TSMC in California. She claims the company favors Taiwanese and Chinese employees and discriminates against non-East Asian workers. Now, I posted on the YouTube channel that I saw the report on, and it was pretty lengthy, but I felt so impacted by this as I'm renting a home for years now because I can't build up enough funds to meet the current housing costs, which skyrocketed in 2020 and 2021 because the Taiwanese company, even before they broke ground or as they broke ground, were buying out homes in the area, whether it be for management, their employees. Somehow, some way, they were planning to bring people in. My assumption would be from other countries, okay? Instead of hiring more local Arizonians or United States citizens to work at the plant, okay? That's my frustration that impacts me directly. Skyrocketed, like double, triple in price in these houses that I've been watching for years. And nothing major has changed in these homes except that they wanted to buy them out and be able to house employees, whether it be management specific, because the type of homes they were buying were pretty immaculate, and then other kinds. But I also noticed on there's a Highway 17 that the plant's off of. Across the street are a bunch of apartment complexes going up. I don't want to live in an apartment and waste and throw my money away and not build equity in something. I want to build equity in something and own it and take care of it and feel safe in my own home. Apartment complexes, no matter how nice and pretty they are also charging high dollar amounts. So there are a lot of people that are impacted by this plant being built, meaning what money you may have saved for a down payment now might not be the minimum of 20% down. So you're forced into either renting where you're at and paying more money each year, or renting an apartment at a high rate and it going up each year, and then still not being able to save money because you're spending it just to survive. We all know about costs of living. We all know about gas prices. We all know what the country's going through right now. And it's a horrific situation to me. The fact that this company, which I had a gut feeling would happen, are now there's a claim against them, a class action lawsuit against them. I don't want to say I'm a fortune teller, but in my opinion, I kind of saw this coming, and I feel bad that the plant is being impacted. But whoever signed the agreement for them to build on such large property of Arizona land and not mandate that they hire a high percentage of US citizens to work at that plant as part of the agreement. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I don't understand what really is going on. But it certainly sounds like from these accusations that they're not either abiding by those rules, or it was never struck as part of the contract, or like I like to call it, agreements behind closed doors. Okay. So continuing with the written word, multiple plaintiffs say they were subjected to a hostile work environment. The lawsuit claims TSMC pushes out American workers to replace them with foreign workers, specifically from Taiwan and China. The suit alleges about half the employees at TSMC Arizona are on a foreign work visas. How can that be acceptable? We don't need everyone to work there, but we need people to work there that are qualified, applied for, and should stay working, not put into hostile work environments where they're forced out in one way or another form, and then they can bring in other employees from overseas. That's not acceptable. And this report just came, I saw it today, but this news article came out yesterday. So, yeah, it's a holiday weekend. We're not paying attention. That's why I'm bringing it to your attention. I want everybody to be aware of this. Continuing with the story, construction workers taken to hospital after incident at TSMC site. Some employees say they were routinely belittled and yelled at. One Black employee reported finding a rubber chicken hanging above their desk. Others claim coworkers made racist comments, including claims that Black people were lazy or smelled bad, and that Americans in general do not work hard or were too stupid to build the plant. This is going to be a very interesting lawsuit if these words actually were said and can be proven in court. Continuing, one plaintiff said company policy discouraged calling 911, directing employees to call an internal emergency number instead. Another claimed managers wanted to buy safety harnesses from the online retailer Temu, but dropped the idea after an outcry. Others allege they were exposed to hazardous chemicals because of a lack of training or a lack of personal protection equipment. It's 2025, people. You don't run companies like this. If these allegations are true, it's mind-blowing and unacceptable. One section of the lawsuit includes an allegation of a drug and prostitution ring operating at the site. Other sections are redacted, with the judge stating these redactions relate to claims of sexual assault. In the workplace in 2025? Come on. In a statement to 12 News, TSMC said, quote, "Our policy is to not comment on litigation outside of court filings. We're proud of the global company of more than 3,000 people that has come together to make our new facility in Arizona a success. And we look forward to growing the site into a major center of American semiconductor manufacturing excellence. TSMC is committed to providing a safe, welcoming, and inclusive environment for our employees, contractors, and everyone who works at our facilities around the world." End quote. So no comment, basically. Just tooting their own horns with the rest of the verbiage, but really not addressing the allegations or the litigation issues that have been brought out. Now, you can watch Channel 12 News for free. It's out there. It's on YouTube. It is available on the internet. I watch it a lot because I like the news reporters tied to the Laura Owens, Ron Owens, Jan Black court cases that are going on right now. Specifically Bianca Buono and Sean Rice, who are the two reporters I've met that are covering the Laura Owens trial. And the next there is going to be next Friday, this Friday, July 11th, will be the pre-trial conference downtown Phoenix. But on the side of that, this company has come in a couple years now, 5 years or so, and they're causing havoc in the housing industry and more building of apartments. I don't know if they're involved with that, getting money from it, or what the story is. You can understand there's concern there, right? So let me run you the story, the news report. It's just 2 minutes. So this is what was covered by Channel 12 News that I just saw earlier. Need just a moment to pull it up.
TSMC, the massive microchip manufacturer in North Phoenix, is facing a class action lawsuit.
It was refiled this week with more plaintiffs and more claims. 12 News journalist William Pitts explains what's in the lawsuit.
The lawsuit is 163 pages with 17 plaintiffs listing dozens of complaints against TSMC, ranging from racial discrimination to safety concerns and retaliation. The lawsuit started with one woman who worked in HR at TSMC in California. She claims TSMC has a racial bias toward Taiwanese and Chinese employees. She and numerous other plaintiffs tell a similar story, saying TSMC subjected non-East Asians to a hostile work environment. The point, they say, is to push out Americans in favor of Taiwanese employees. The lawsuit also says half the employees at TSMC Arizona are on foreign work visas. Other employees say they're routinely screamed at, belittled. One black employee found a rubber chicken hanging above a desk. They claim the Taiwanese employees said black people were lazy and smell, and that Americans were lazy and not hardworking. The lawsuit also claims accidents, including fatal accidents, were frequent. A man was killed in a waste tanker explosion in 2024. The lawsuit says 2 others were classified as personal medical issues. But the lawsuit claims there's a culture of safety violations at TSMC. One employee said it was company policy not to call 911, but instead call the plant's emergency number. Another said TSMC managers wanted to buy safety harnesses from online retailer Temu, but abandoned the plan. Another said they were exposed to hazardous chemicals. Still another says there was a drug and prostitution ring being operated at the site. And there are sections of the lawsuit that are blacked out. The judge in the case says it's because they deal with alleged sexual assaults. TSMC told 12 News it doesn't talk about ongoing lawsuits, but sent a statement that said in part that TSMC is committed to providing a safe, welcoming, and inclusive environment for the employees, contractors, and everyone who works at their facilities. William Pitts, 12 News.
All right, Will, thank you.
So you can imagine how frustrating that is. Sorry about that. It's extremely frustrating to think that they can come into America with whatever the laws are that allow them to build on our land, whatever contract was written with the state, whatever commitment they have. I know that in Europe, multiple countries have a council that represents each of the countries. In my past experience in the corporate environment, you could be able to have work over there, produce things, open up some sites, something like that. But the council would mandate a 30, possibly 50% of local hires that have to work at your site. Why is that not happening in America? It makes perfect sense. It forces these companies that come into your country to take over your land, build facilities, make money on products, but not utilize the locals and give them a cost, a living, and be able to support their families and make a better life for themselves. I don't understand why we don't have a council like that. If there is one, I've not heard of it. And please correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, or if you know something more than I don't, I am more than willing to listen. But I'm fuming over this for the simple fact that this company not only came in years ago, started breaking ground, now they're building on additional buildings on the manufacturing site. And honestly, I don't even know if they're up and running yet. They might be. It sounds like there are people that are working there and they're trying to force them out potentially. But at the same time, that could all be pre-work before they actually start manufacturing. But if the state of Arizona signed a contract with them and possibly other companies, foreign or domestic, to build on our land and be able to open up a business, but not mandate a percentage, a requirement, something along those lines about hiring locals, because we're not bad people. We're not stupid. And it doesn't matter what race we are. We're all just trying to survive. And as jobs have gone away, we're looking for new jobs. As the president has said, he's pulling back from China. He's causing tariffs against China, which is a short-term pain for a long-term gain. That's how I perceive it. And I hope that's the logic here, right? Because he and I don't talk, obviously. But in my mind, we have to do something to stop the products from China to become continue to be part of our lives so that we can build our own products and purchase, which would be less expensive because you're not paying. For example, there's an item I need and I went to a site to order it. It was less than $20. I can't find it anywhere else. Less than $20 for the purchase it, but it was $120 for shipping. That's dramatic. That's a big difference from the past, okay? And that's unacceptable to me. Charge me the $120 and charge me a low shipping fee because it doesn't cost that much. What it sounds like to me is that the cost of the tariffs are being pushed back on any Americans who are ordering or anybody who's ordering products out of China. Now, I don't know what the latest status is on that because I've seen the news, yes, no, in the court, out of the court, but it's not acceptable. And these are the pains and groans and moans that we're going through. But again, it's short-term pain for long-term gain. So be cognizant of that. If you're ordering, be aware. And now we have a Taiwanese company here in Arizona that's actually building their manufacturing plant, and they can say all these beautiful, nice things that they want to make it a global positioning for the Americas and yada, yada. But that's no, not if you've already had a class action lawsuit against you. And if any and all of this comes to fruition during the court cases or multiple cases, who knows? It could open the door for other companies that are being built or will be built or are requesting to be built here. We need the jobs. We need to work. People with degrees don't need to become construction workers. Construction workers can grow into the other positions too. It's not the only thing that we have to be pigeonholed in. And with the limited jobs available, they're limited, because of skill sets and recruiting houses, which are interesting in themselves. But with limited jobs, companies like this should be offering more citizens of the United States positions and hiring and not causing issues while they're on site. And it's horrible to hear this story from the reporter and reading the article. It's unacceptable. I don't know how many times I can say that. And the government and the state of Arizona need to step in right away, more than right away, now, even though it's a holiday weekend and everybody's having fun. That's unacceptable. And I really hope Channel 12 News, the reporters, stay on this, follow it to its fruition, keep reporting on it, because if this one company is doing it, we can stop them because we are now aware. If we become aware of others, then that's even more important because we need to stop it across the board. And we're not the only state. I understand that, but I can only speak to my area. And here in Maricopa County, it's unacceptable. And I really hope that somebody does something about it. Like I was saying about the countries in Europe, they have a council members representing on a council from each of the countries, and they have mandates. They contractually mandate that companies coming in to do work hire local employees. 20%, 50%, even higher, I've heard, higher than that, I've heard in the past. We're talking over 20, 30 years. So it's a variety of decisions that were made, but still this council's in effect. Where is it for the United States? Just our upper officials in our government? What happened at the state level? Who signed a contract with this TSMC to build here? And are those people accountable? And what does the contract look like? I assume there was a contract signed for the state of Arizona with a TSMC company so that they can build on their plant. There must have been some, diagrams and explanation and employee retention and yada, yada, all that stuff. It just makes sense to me. I can't see anybody being taken out to dinner or taken to Vegas and making a decision that like this that impacts so many people in Arizona. Not to say that happened, don't get me wrong. But as we've all heard, things like that happen. And I hope that that has not occurred in this situation. Traveling to a foreign country to be treated great and then to be able to sign a contract, it doesn't work if you don't take care of the U.S. citizens that are impacted by them moving here and building in Arizona. Again, I'm talking about Arizona because I know the people here and this is where I live. So I want you all to be cognizant of that and be aware. Some more information about TSMC. They're mostly owned by foreign investors. In 2023, the company was ranked 44th in the Forbes Global 2000 Taiwanese exports of integrated circuits amounted to $184 billion in 2022, nearly 25% of Taiwan's GDP. I forgot what that stands for, sorry. The highest analyst price target is $270 per share. It's publicly traded. The lowest price is $175. The average price target represents 3.09% increase from the current price of $224.68. So they're not cheap and they're not going broke, right? And it is listed as a strong buy. So I guess if you want to put your money there, go for it, but be cognizant of what's going on in the news and watch what's happening. Because even though they're a major player in the semiconductor industry, we have semiconductor vendors here too. And, again, hire U.S. citizens if you're going to build a plant on U.S. soil. I don't know how else to stress how much more I can stress that. And to be able to say, well, we hired them X percentage, but they didn't work out. So we had to replace them. And we couldn't find any valid candidates, so we had to go back to overseas. I don't even know how the court's going to handle this. I don't even know how they're going to defend this. I'm sure they'll have a great, story to tell and great lawyers to defend it, but these accusations, these allegations, these claims are not frivolous, especially when you bring in sexual assault on the website. That's not acceptable. Essays are not acceptable in any environment. We've been seeing that in the news left and right, Hollywood included. So, let's get involved, everybody, and understand and watch this story go forward. I'm going to do my best to keep reporting on it, but there's only so much I can do. There's only so much information I have access to, as well as if I don't get more viewers, I'm just a nobody. They could take me out for talking out loud anyway. So I don't want that to happen. So I wanted to make sure I brought it to your attention, not just a news article for 2 minutes that was on YouTube that people possibly missed. I think I mentioned earlier the biggest customers of TSMC are Apple and Nvidia. And those are some big names. So large companies. Okay. So of course they're invested in this company to build, which may reduce their cost for purchasing from them if they build on American soil. But if you're not helping the little guy and little woman, right, to do the work and work there and build the product, it's not helping the community. It's not helping the valley. It's not helping the United States. The people are more important than business, because you can't run a business without people. And if they think they're going to use artificial intelligence to run it, that's really going overboard. It's unacceptable. They are talking about AI chips. Intel. Remember Intel? Intel's a semiconductor chip creator. So in third quarter of 2024, TSMC dominated the global semiconductor foundry market with a 64.9% share. That's big. TSMC's dominance in the foundry market is undisputed as the world's largest contract chip manufacturer. And I told you all about that. It even provides to Intel and AMD. I don't know who they are, but obviously they're probably big players to be named. And this is just information I searched the internet for. It's all out there for us to see. Why they're so powerful, you may ask? Because they have a combination of cutting-edge process technology, industry-leading yield control, massive production scale, and deep integration with key customers. Yeah, wouldn't I like that? That would be awesome. If I had every piece of the pie, I'd have the whole pie. It doesn't always work that way. But you know what? The pie doesn't bake without someone turning on the oven, and someone taking it out of the oven, and someone slicing it up, and someone eating it. Might be a stupid analogy, but think about it. Robots don't eat pie. My, oh my. Still looking. The largest shareholder of Taiwanese semiconductor manufacturing company. The largest shareholder, you know who? Ready? National Development Fund of Taiwan, holding around 6.4% of the company. There are other major shareholders, including institutional investors like BlackRock, and get this, the government of Singapore Investment Corporation. They're all in cahoots. The general public also holds a significant portion of TSMC shares. Really? You belittled that number. Where's that percentage? They just said the one of the 6.4. That leaves another 94. Well, 93.6% still outstanding, but come on, who owns most of that? A significant portion. What does significant portion mean? Can you explain it? It could mean anything. 1%, 20%, 80%, significant portion. Love to see those that annual report and those quarterly reports. An explanation on why Intel fell behind TSMC. Analysts had estimated that Intel's production costs per wafer, right? Wafer that we talked about, per wafer is approximately 35% higher than TSMC's. Intel's adherence to the vertical integration model also made it less agile and responsive to market changes. I'm wondering if Intel had more support by the state and the government and other companies and customers, high-end customers, that they could have made changes and stayed affluent with and competitive with TSMC. We've always had Intel. That's just a name brand in the corporate world, especially in the tech world. SIT Goatee Brad, he knows what I'm talking about. I bet even Bruce from Oregon knows what I'm talking about. I wouldn't ask Lauren Knighty because I don't think she would know, and maybe not Omar Sharato either. But anybody that's been in the field would know what Intel stands for, and it's just a common name that we all would recognize. I just don't understand how a company like this can be brought into our country, allowed to come to our country, and be able to build and ignore and get away with. Yeah, they may have hired U.S. citizens, but they potentially, allegations said, they potentially could be forcing them out one way or another, okay? And that's not right. And that should be something that is not an internal fixer-upper. You don't fix it internally. That is something that has been outed. So now we need to be involved as citizens, and the state and everybody in Arizona need to be in an uproar about this plant. And you know what? If they don't finish what they're doing, go back, find a new location, and we'll take over that plant, and we will build it with U.S. citizens. We'll create things there that we can build other things. If it's not semiconductors, we can do furniture. If not furniture, we can do other things. So we can start being built in America again. Don't forget. We started like that hundreds and hundreds of years ago. So it's well worth pulling it back in. The slogan, let's make America great again. This is not the way to do it. From what I can tell from this story and what I've been reading. So I want everybody to be involved and understand that this is not something that's acceptable by anybody in the United States or any other country. And I want you to be involved. I want you to know and learn and understand that our voices count. And if you have been affected by the housing market and the high cost of the housing market, reach out to our elected officials. Let them know this is a high concern of ours. Now, there are expensive homes here and people can afford them, but they're few and far between. There's many of the masses here in Phoenix, Arizona, and the outskirts of Phoenix in Arizona that can't even afford the minimalist of homes, 1,500 square foot, 2-bedroom, 1-bath. For 5 people, try it. See how that goes. Now, these apartments, again, might be high end, might be nice, but you're paying out the wazoo just to survive. And then how do you save money? You can't even get a job, so then you won't even make the rent. So what is that? Where's your motivation? Hence why we have a lot of court cases that clog up the system with people misusing the court cases. We've heard about that. And those that are overwhelmed in the court cases because of situations like this, they just go in default. They can't, there's laws that say you can't kick me out. I got 30 days, 60 days. I got an extension. I have children, so that extends it. I got a year, whatever. But that's not how we want to live. That's stressful. That causes anxiety. I get depressed when I think about this stuff. I'm already depressed thinking about it. It's not something that's fair to anyone to have to go through. In America, none of this should happen anyway. I would like us to live free and be able to live. I wish that on everybody. Live a good life. Usually we only get one, right? So why not live it to the fullest? And that's my suggestion to you. It's hard for me to figure it out, but it's my suggestion to you to do. I know it's a holiday weekend. It's okay that it's a holiday weekend, but that doesn't mean that you aren't aware of what's going on around you in your own backyard, let alone around the world. Don't just go with the top stories. Find out more of the local stuff that's going on, because that's the stuff that also impacts your lives. And it does impact you indirectly, directly or indirectly, but inevitably you are impacted, right? We have water issues in Maricopa County, in Arizona, and other states. Water issues. We have to have water, clean water here. Otherwise, we will be sick and septic or whatever you're going to catch from dirty water. And if it runs out where we are low on water, what do we do then? Because it is so easy to dehydrate in the Arizona heat. We're blessed this week within the 90s, but 2 weeks ago, it was in the 109, 110 degree weather. And that's, you dehydrate just being outdoors, whether you're in shade or not. So you're constantly having to drink water. Hence why the price of bottled water has gone up. But hey, everybody's got to make a buck. But it should be acceptable to have the appropriate amount of water for the population in your state. I believe I saw this recently, 3.7 billion. I'm looking it up right now. Give me 1 second. Population of Arizona 2025. Let's see how close I was or how far off I was. Okay. If I can move this thing, which you never can do. It's hidden. That's why. Lord in heaven, come on, help me out here. I have to minimize it and make it big again. It's right off the edge of my monitor, so I didn't drag it over far enough, so now I have to do it a different way to get it smaller. And then bring it over. Jesus. I cannot believe it. Doesn't that just mind boggle you? No, forget it. We're going to do it this way then. Population of Arizona 2025. So, the population of Arizona in 2025 is projected to be 7,582,384 people. And that's based on a 1.3% annual growth rate. Over 7 million people live in Arizona. That's a lot of people to provide water for, or house, or feed, or live, or take care of, and health care, and anything else that people need to live and survive. I don't understand, with 7 million people, they're not working at this TSMC. Many people must have applied, and they're local. We have well-educated people here. We have people with diverse experiences, education, schooling, work history, plenty of people. So, like I said, they may have hired them to meet the contractual obligation, but then to do the hazing on the job, people were quitting or getting fired or getting bad reviews, as my past experience is how it works internally. And then, you get strikes against you and things like that, or not following the procedures and processes. So if they were using that tactic internally to remove people and then say, well, we got to hire other people from Taiwan and China and fly them over here. And guess what? We have homes already here. It kind of implies that they were planning that all along. That's another aspect that should be investigated by the reporters. How many homes in the surrounding area have been purchased by TSMC or an affiliate or under the name of someone who's affiliated or working for whatever? Because I'm not making it up. A lot of homes sold rather quickly, and boom, the housing market pricing skyrocketed. Realtors were loving it because they're making a higher percentage on the higher sales, but that doesn't make it right. And it doesn't even seem like the homes needed to be refurbished or fixed up. This multi-billion-dollar company can do all that without even blinking an eye. But by buying all these homes and raising, and the housing market costs went up 2-3 times the original pricing, the current price value, not when they first bought it years ago, but the current price value doubled and tripled in a very short amount of time. Look at it. Go on the applications that list realtor sites, the realtor sites, and look at what's available. If you don't check out Arizona, check out your own state. And then you can see the history of the last time it was sold, when it was sold before that. And you can see the prices getting higher, and then a large jump over the last several years. I'm sorry, but it's very depressing to think you try your best to save every penny, nickel, dime, and then to come find out that you still can't reach the minimum of 20%, and the mortgage rates are outrageous. So whoever needed that to be higher on top of the house market going higher, mind boggles me also. With that said, you can't afford the new home, let alone a new home. So you feel trapped and you're scared and you're worried for your future and your family's future and your children's college or whatever they choose to do with their lives. Maybe they have a horse farm. How are you going to supply the food and the care for the horses? We have horses here in Arizona that we do, and farms. So that's another thing. We need water to water the farms. We can't go to a drought and lose food. That's stupid. So, and it's got to be clean water, or otherwise what they're growing is not going to turn out well. Get it? So I'm not happy with this situation whatsoever. And I can't be the only one. I'm just speaking out on my voice right now to everybody. I want to make sure that you're hearing me. And I hope that people watch this video, because I live stream to get people to attend so we can ask their questions or get comments. And that's good. But after this goes to replay on YouTube, I want people to watch it and even create their own videos. It doesn't have to be just mine. You can do your own research, but I will be looking into this as best I can to find out what I can, because this directly impacts me. It's not acceptable. It hurts. It takes away the want, the need, the gumption to move forward. You feel defeated. That's basically it. You feel defeated. And it's like, well, why bother trying? So many people, not everyone, but many people turn to drinking and drugs and other substances just to feel better. And for anybody who's ever been an addict, I've not, but anybody who's ever been an addict, you kind of feel for them a little bit, thinking what their lives must have been like to turn to that. Well, this one could be one reason, and impacting the violence that's going on in the valley. How many violent acts are occurring? I do a monthly stream on the Maricopa County Attorney's Office news alerts, and I just did it yesterday, so it's on my site. But, there are children being hurt. There's gun shootings in the street. There are people being caught, investigations going on for years, finally catching the person. We just recently had a pastor who was murdered in his own home by crucifixion style. Okay. And the defendant, I guess, is caught, and he gave a jailhouse interview to a reporter live last week. I posted that too. And he believes that he was doing the work of God, but he didn't see anything wrong with against the commandment of do not kill. He had a different view on the commandments, at least that commandment. So there's outrage going on. People might not realize it in the state level, government officials, that kind of thing, because once you shake hands and kiss babies and get voted in, how much time do you really spend in the neighborhoods? How much time do you spend talking with people again? Right? I'm just assuming you don't, because you're working hard for them. But at the same time, you have to make time to be out in the public. That's why I like the County Attorney General of Maricopa. Rachel Mitchell makes time to see people, be with people. She holds conference, in the different cities. She'll hold a conversation get together at a local get together facility, and she'll just talk to you. She'll answer questions. Now, others may be doing that also, but I think I get more emails with updates than any face-to-face opportunities. Maybe they're out there. Maybe I'm not aware of them. That's fine, but I don't go to them because I'm not aware of them. What does that say about communication, right? Where's the communication to identify, hey, on this date, we're going to be at this site. If you'd like to come on over, we're going to have a conversation. We're going to talk about certain topics or none. We just open forum. Those are the best kind. We used to call them round tables back in the day. You just have somebody there from different parts of the city or whatever, and we all get together with the leadership, and then we just talk. Maybe complain a little, maybe open, get an understanding from leadership's perspective. That's why I like open forums. They should be peaceful. We also had a news article, a news alert from Mrs. Rachel Mitchell this past month about a protester who was injured, or caused injury, I should say, to a police officer. Protests should be peaceful. You want to get your point across without causing a ruckus, because once you do that, people don't hear you anymore. It's not about the loudest voice in the room, right? Because if you are the loudest voice, I can get louder and I can tell you to shut the hell up. So you don't have to be the loudest voice in the room. You have to speak succinctly and have factual information and be able to stand behind your words. Or read up about how to protest, right? I'm sure it doesn't say, quote, for example, start fires in the street. That'll get the idea, get people's attention. I'm sure that's not written anywhere. I feel pretty confident I can say that. I could be wrong, obviously, but it makes no sense, right? So when you protest something, that means you have a strong passion about the topic. And if you are intelligent and you know what you're talking about, people will listen to that. And you need to be open to communicate back and forth, because a lot of people want to say what they want to say, expect change, but not listen to the other side explaining, A, we hear you. This is what we heard. This is why we can or cannot do it now or maybe in the future, right? These are the key points of a debate or communications. So if you talk with someone, you need to also listen and then understand that they're giving back to you a response to what you're requesting. But in that case that I read in my video of the news alert about the protester who hit a police officer, I don't know all the details specifically, but that's unacceptable. right? And I know that I believe she got time, not just a ticket. So there must have been something deeper than that, not just the police officer did something, so I hit him or he took my sign away. You know what I'm saying? So be cognizant of this stuff. It's not, if you're going to protest, protest. So just like I'm doing here, I guess it's like a protest online live stream about the TSMC company and these civil allegations against them, which is a class action lawsuit now with more than 17 people we said, which may grow. And if you've ever worked in a company, sometimes you're fearful of losing your job or being outed or don't want to speak up because you could receive repercussions yourself. So that number could grow. And that's not a small number because you have to take into consideration if 17 people spoke up and gave you and explained these situations, you can, Bruce would do this, but you could surmise that 17 is a percentage of a higher percentage of what also is going on. Okay. It just so happens these 17 people are the ones that spoke out. Okay. So that's why an investigation needs to get started immediately, not internally. They contracted with the state. I have to assume that to be able to build here. So in that contract, once again, if you have a paragraph stating if there's any essays, if there's anything going on in the company, we are going to step in and we are going to investigate and we are going to deduce and find out the truth, right? Because any company is going to do an internal and find out nothing's really bad or tweak it. Maybe, maybe not, but I'm just saying you need a third party to be involved, uninfluenced, unimpacted, has no skin in the game type thing, right? To be able to fairly deduce what's going on and then give final reports to both sides and everybody in the court to better explain what happened or what's going on. And then it needs to be addressed. But if they are really pushing out people, Arizonians, US citizens, to replace them with Taiwanese and Chinese people from overseas, that's just not right. That's not what we're about. It's like cheating the system, right? So you want to be cognizant of that stuff. I don't want to say they found a loophole, and I hope they didn't find a loophole, but it sounds like they did. Hire a bunch of U.S. citizens from Arizona and then make them feel horrible to work there, make them quit, may fire them, give them bad reviews, and then we can hire who we want, which is your whole intent to begin with. See what I mean about how that feels? That's just wrong. Especially if someone goes in working for a major company like this, as I described to you, multi-billion-dollar company, leader in the industry that they're in, and you're working for them. You're going to buy a new car. You may take the family on a 2-week vacation. You might say, yeah, we're going to buy this house, put money down. And all of a sudden, days, weeks, months later, your job's gone. Then where are you at? Worse off than before. Right? So be cognizant of this stuff. It's not acceptable. And you have to go in, even as a contractor, you need to be able to outline your requirements in that contract to work there, not just take whatever they throw at you. They need to understand that you're their contractor, but you also have commitments to yourself and your family. So if there's a length of time you require, let them know that. If there's a dollar amount, hourly dollar amount or salaried position, you want them to know what your expectation is. If you're expecting increases, at what time? When can I expect them if they are? I would think annually. Bonuses. Will there be a bonus check every quarter if we do well? Every 6 months? Every year? These are things I am looking for in a position that you could say. And again, you have to be willing to work with the company to say, well, we don't do bonuses, but we do say that we give you anywhere from 2 to 5% increase at the end of the year, depending on how we do. I mean, that kind of stuff is standard. So you can say, okay, well, I can live with that. Because again, you're working, you're making money all year, save some of it, don't live off all of it, put it away. The government lets you put away, I believe, $700 in a IRA every year, not taxed, right? So you can also do it tax after taxes and save money and not have to worry about taxes later. But take a percentage of your paycheck and put that aside, and that's going to carry you through later in case you have downtimes or when you get to retirement age. We've all heard Social Security is not high enough to be able to support us to live on. And like I've said about this housing market, that's another big one. It's not something that's going to carry us through. Too expensive. And to maintain a home with repairs, roofs, here in Arizona, air conditioning, pools, things along those lines, those are expenses that you have to incur because that's what happens in this extra heat. I was watching videos on YouTube about fissures that are coming up throughout the state of Arizona. Fissures are just popping up. So there's moisture in the ground. It dries up from the heat. And then there's caverns or dried pockets underneath the ground, and they just cave in. And they were showing them from a helicopter's view, all these areas. So now there's requirements before you can build something. You also have to get approval, a certified, not geographer, but I forgot the name, but someone that checks out the ground and says, yep, we've checked this. It's not going to cave in. There's no gaps. And that's only been recent, year, 2. But now I think it's becoming more mandatory, and I believe realtors have to be aware of it before they if they're studying to become realtors, they need to be aware of this. It's another requirement. And downtown Phoenix is just the same. A lot of old Scottsdale was built back in the day. You could have fissures open up anywhere. And we're talking beautiful roads, beautiful homes built up, on these potholes, so to speak. I know in Michigan, there's a big story about this beautiful subdivision, and it just opened up. The road going into the complex of this subdivision fell through, and it affected the 2 homes on the left, 2 homes on the right, and the main entrance in. Big gaping hole. Now, Michigan's a peninsula surrounded by water. So it might be a different environment, but it happened there too. And here in Arizona, it might not be widely known, but there are tons of fissures occurring, and they're occurring. They may be small, big, it all depends. And it's not like it's something that you'll know what's going to happen. They say it's just happening when it happens. So be aware of that too. And the further out that homes are being built and apartment complexes are being built, who knows if 4 or 5 families might go under because the ground went under, right? So it needs, a lot of this needs to be concerned. Even this TSMC manufacturing plant, I am concerned, did they even check the ground there for that entire multi-facility, as you saw on my thumbnail that I put up first, right? That's multiple buildings and parking lots and expansions. And is all that land safe, or is that going to cave in at some point, parts of? Who knows? But their actions of this class action lawsuit, it's mind-boggling to me. Instead of being grateful that the state of Arizona is allowing you to do your business here, which gives you the chance to grow and do better by others and the major players, your customers, and I would think the little people, quote unquote, like us, would be able to work there to help you obtain your goals, and we could survive. But now you're turning it into we met the criteria possible hiring U.S. citizens, but they're not working out. And as some of the alleged quotes were, U.S. Americans or Americans are too stupid to work, too lazy. What is that? First off, it's called the hiring process, right? You go through a hiring process and you pick the best of the best that you can get. So don't tell me you hired stupid people, because you would have known that during the HR hiring process. So to me, if that's a true statement, that's unacceptable. And what is their hiring processes? That's another portion that needs to be investigated from a third party, right? You don't just bring in, if your intention is to bring in people from overseas, then your hiring process is going to be pretty simple. Can you write your name? Can you breathe? You're hired. Come on in, right? You could play it different ways. So that's why a third party needs to be involved and look at all these aspects of what the company is doing or has been doing and what will be doing, because change can occur even internally for them to hire U.S. citizens again, but have better hiring practices. And then managers that are there now doing what they allegedly are doing, removed. Hire managers that do their job right. We have people that have done management skills for 30 years. And if they still want to work, they will do it for another 30, right? And people need to understand that people skills are so important in the health industry, in the corporate industry, in any industry, right? You have to be able to speak to people and talk to them and understand where they're coming from. You can't be the biggest bully on the block. It's not acceptable. And it doesn't carry much weight, because all it does is cause more violence. Be aware of that too. And I don't want to see what happened to Tesla's happen to this company. It's not going to get you anywhere. But for Arizona, our people here, our citizens in the Valley, need to have good paying jobs to match their skill sets, right? And be able to live a good life while they still can. And a lot of people are not getting that. They're having to downgrade. They're going to sell their current home to live in an apartment because they can't afford the home. That's not how America should be. We don't downsizing is an option, but it's not downgrading in a negative way. See what I'm saying? It shouldn't be taken that way. And it shouldn't be treated that way. People should be able to do what they can do and live a good life. And if they are on the job doing their job, there is no reason why a company should force them out without their intentions, bad intentions, right? Like hire someone just because, even though you know you're going to let them go, so you can hire somebody else, right? It's kind of like hiring your family members. Seen that a lot. Nepotism, it's called. Yeah, I think you've heard of it. And that's a horrific thing too, because you're not comfortable saying something. And it's not the family member's fault. It's the leader or person in charge who brought them in, using their power to say, yeah, I'll get you a job, or yeah, hire my relative in, just finished college, need to get them working. Wait a minute. That's fine. But if there's other candidates that are doing the work just as well, or getting in the hiring process and have similar or better resume with all of their skill and work experience, they get the opportunity. Nepotism's not very acceptable in today's world, because it doesn't help everybody. That family member can live off where you have. Obviously, they have been. So why not more? Or continue? Or let them find their own jobs instead of counting on you to do it. And don't please say the line, but any parent would do it for any of their children. Yeah, I hear you. But you know what? Most parents are working so hard, both mom and dads or legal guardians are working so hard, they don't have time to do what you can do, because that's not their job. You may be a leader in a company and you can just sell some subordinates who passes the word down to hire this guy or this lady without even thinking twice about it. Seen that happen too. It's not a good world when that happens. People do not feel good after that stuff happens, and they're impacted by it. It sticks in the back of their mind. I'm telling you this from years ago. I still remember it. I was actually same thing. I was passed over for the job I was good for, ready for, perfect for, because someone else whined and cried and wanted it. Best way I could describe it. And the upper manager fell for it. Job went to somebody else, and I had to stay in my old position for another 6 months or a year. I wasn't happy. I did it because I needed the paycheck, but my heart wasn't in it because I thought you get patted on the back and you get promoted for doing good work. Doesn't that make sense? Because I've learned this job. Now I want to get this knowledge and experience, which I'm still retaining my previous skill set. So I'm able to do more stuff. Do you see what I mean? So why is that not praised? Why is that not looked at as such? And it always doesn't have to be about money increases, but the respect for the individual. And what we're hearing in these allegations and in this lawsuit claim, class action lawsuit claim, so it's multiple people, they didn't respect the people. Sounded like they had a hidden agenda. And hidden agendas suck because they're hidden. We don't know what they really are until something comes to fruition, like a third-party investigation or the court. And they all go to court and the truth comes out. And then discovery, where you get information shared, both sides. And all they have to do in this case is prove that they did do it. And like I said, 17 people spoke up, but that could be indicative. I think I'll use that word. So if Bruce watching this, it might say, yeah, that's a good word, Rob. Indicative of a higher percentage when you do the actual stats, right? 17 could equate to out of a billion, 3,000, they said, come on, 3,000. There's a lot more employees if they're around the globe. And if they're only 3,000, how many they're hiring in Arizona? They're working on this major plant. Well, unless they are using AI robots or something, right? So they can claim it as 3,000 people, but you're increasing your staff. So it's got to be higher than that. So the 17 equates to an X amount of number based on the overall population. I remember this stuff from my master's degree, right? We called it the purge analysis. And then you calculate it out and you come up with the number and you can justify it because of the calculations that were used. Got my 4.0, got my A on that thesis. So, I was happy. I did something right. And I would expect my professor to tell me, no, you are way off base, and explain to me why. That's why schooling is so important. It gives you the opportunity to make mistakes and not pay the price and lose a job or get fired or cry or anything, right? That's the whole point of being in school. You get to learn a working learning environment. You see what I mean? And I think that a lot of people should look at it that way and take advantage of it, because that's why I enjoyed school so much. I knew that I could make mistakes and I would learn from them. I was open to that. I didn't always make mistakes. I tried to do my best. Don't get me wrong. But when I did do something wrong, it's because I must have missed the mark, or I didn't get it. And I thought I did get it. So then I took time with the professor or fellow students and we studied and explained it to me. And then I asked questions and then I kind of understood more. So I was very impressed with how the education system, higher education system works, no matter where you're at, right? Whatever schooling you're at. Again, you're going to have ups and downs in those environments also. But if you're always willing to learn on the job or go back to schooling or to learn a trade even, you're going to grow and you're going to build your confidence and you'll be able to do jobs that you never thought you could do before. But it sounds like this company specifically had a game plan. And if there is a contractual agreement to say, yes, you must hire X percentage of U.S. citizens in Arizona to work at the plant, they hired that percentage plus one just to safeguard them. And then little by little, they probably started doing the internal obnoxious things that we heard about. And they all started leaving, whether it be they quit or fired or they were released from their like an at-will type situation, or contracts ended, so they got rid of them, or they didn't do really good reviews because they found every little thing they could to put it in the review, things like that. I don't know their processes. I can only speak from my experience. So I would like that all to sink in for everybody. And please monitor this. Reach out to 12 News. Reach out to Bianca Buono or Sean Rice, any other reporters you may know in the Arizona area, and just ask them to keep following this because it's important. It impacts us all. And I'll never get to buy my house if the house pricing keeps going higher, outrageously higher. I'm not just talking about a little increase because, each year it goes up a little. No, this went up twice, 2x, 3x in a very short period of time. And the scary part about that is it's soon going to be a buyer's market because homes will go into foreclosure. People won't be able to afford those $3,000, $4,000 mortgage payments, if not higher, on a monthly basis. And the taxes. And the HOAs, which are just crazy sometimes, right? Because those have been bloated also. So if we're looking in the housing market, let me give you that little positive thought. Hang in there, because when the bubble bursts, like it did in 2006, we'll be ripe. And you will obtain what you want. That's what I'm counting on. So with that said, I'm going to end the stream here. I thank you all for watching. I appreciate your time. And again, please reach out to any reporters or news stations, or just post on YouTube and other areas, other media, social media, and let them know this is not acceptable and we need to follow it through. Thank you. Have a great day. Bye. Watch my outgoing stream.